Hey everyone, I am Lawrence Libas and this is my report on Historical Sociological Foundation. Now for Historical Foundation, the Historical Foundation of Curriculum examines how the past educational practices and philosophies have shaped the curriculum we have today. So understanding our history helps us see why we teach what we teach and how these teaching methods have evolved over time. Now, in ancient civilizations, especially ancient Greece, the curriculum has focused on philosophy, rhetoric, and physical education to develop well-rounded citizens like the teachings of Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and many others. However, in Rome, education emphasized law, engineering, and military arts to prepare for practical civic and military roles. Now, for medieval period, the curriculum was dominated by the seven liberal arts, the trivium or the grammar, rhetoric, logic, that's three, and plus four, the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. So their education was primarily controlled by the church and aimed to prepare individuals for religious life and service. Now, for the Renaissance era period. In this period, it saw a shift towards more humanistic studies with a focus on classical literature, art, and science. It aimed to cultivate human potential and prepare individuals for a broader range of intellectual and artistic pursuits. It's not centered on the church anymore. And in the Age of Enlightenment, thinkers like John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau promoted the idea that education should be based on reason and observation, not just tradition. Rousseau particularly advocated for a child-centered curriculum that respected natural development. Now, in 19th to 20th centuries, the Industrial Revolution led to a curriculum focused on basic literacy and vocational skills to meet the needs of a factory-based economy. Later, John Dewey championed a curriculum that was experiential and relevant to students' lives. He believed that the school should reflect the society it serves, connecting learning to practical, real-world problems. Now, in the Philippines, the curriculum has been shaped by various colonial and post-colonial periods, each with a distinct educational philosophy and purpose. The pre-colonial period, before the Spanish arrives in the Philippines, education was informal and unstructured. It took place within the home and the community of our ancestors. The curriculum focused on vocational skills to ensure survival and livelihood, like hunting for the boys and housekeeping for the girls. It also included cultural values, folk songs, and traditions passed down through oral traditions. Now, when the Spanish arrived in the Philippines, education became formal and religion-centered. The curriculum was dominated by the three R's: reading, writing, and religion. Its primary goal was to teach Christian doctrines and Spanish values to convert the native population to Catholicism. Now, for the American colonial period, a major shift occurred during this era. The Americans introduced a free and compulsory public school system for all Filipinos regardless of social class. However, it was based on American ideals, promoting democratic values, citizenship, and morality. English was established as the primary medium of instruction, and subjects like science and vocational skills were also introduced. Now, in Japanese occupation during the World War II, the Japanese made changes to the curriculum to promote their own ideologies. They emphasized Tagalog, Philippine history, and character development while also promoting the use of Japanese language. It focused on vocational education and love for work. The influences of American in textbooks is removed. Ika nga, Pilipinas para sa Pilipino, Asia para sa Asyano. Now, in the post-war and contemporary period, after the Philippines has gained its independence, it reclaimed its educational system. Many reforms aimed to make the curriculum more nationalistic and responsive to the needs of the local citizens. Most recently, the K-12 curriculum, it expanded the basic education to 12 years than the last 10 years only to be at par with global standards and to better prepare students for higher education, middle-level skill development, employment, and entrepreneurship. Now, in sociological foundations, the sociological foundations of curriculum explores how society and culture influence the curriculum. It examines the relationship between schooling and social structures, including social class, race, gender, and equity. Society as a source. Society is a powerful force in shaping the curriculum. What is taught in schools often reflect the values, beliefs, and norms in a society. Like, for example, a society that values technology, it will have a curriculum that emphasizes computer science and engineering or AI perhaps. In social functions of curriculum, the curriculum serves several key social functions. Socialization. The curriculum teaches students the values, norms, and skills necessary for functioning in society. This includes everything from learning to share and even understanding their duties as a citizen. For social mobility, education can provide individuals with skills and credentials to improve their social and economic standing. It can either promote or hinder social mobility. It depends only on how it is used, its content, and accessibility. Now, for social control, the curriculum can be used to maintain social order and stability by transmitting dominant ideologies and discouraging dissent. For cultural transmission, the curriculum is a primary vehicle for passing on a society's culture, including its history, language, arts, and even traditions. Now, the key sociological theories and perspectives. First, structural functionalism. It views that the curriculum as a means of maintaining social stability by teaching shared values and preparing students for their future roles in the society. For conflict theory, this perspective argues that the curriculum often serves the interests of the dominant social class, reproducing social inequalities. Per se, critics argue that the curriculum might favor the cultural knowledge of the elite, disadvantaging students from the lower socio-economic backgrounds. For symbolic interactionism, this perspective focuses on the micro levels of interaction in the classroom and how this shapes students' understanding of how they view themselves and the world. Now, contemporary issues. Sociological foundations are particularly relevant today in addressing issues like multicultural education. A curriculum includes the histories and perspectives of diverse cultures to promote understanding and respect. That's all of my report. Thank you.